Buongiorno a tutti da Polentone in Giappone. Se non l'avete fatto ancora, iscrivetevi al mio canale YouTube Polentone in Giappone, seguitemi su Instagram e Facebook, sempre a Polentone in Giappone. Oggi siamo ad Hiroshima, nel Parco Della Pace, e vi porterò a visitare uno degli edifici che è stato ristrutturato dopo l'esplosione della bomba atomica. Si chiama Rest House. Nello specifico oggi non vi porterò io a visitare questo posto, nel senso ci sarò io, ma chi vi accompagnerà con le parole sarà una ragazza americana che ha deciso di vivere qui ad Hiroshima e promuovere la pace ad Hiroshima e non solo. Quindi restate con me e guardate questo video.
Hello everyone, welcome to Hiroshima Peace Park. My name is Mary, and I'm here today to introduce you to the Rest House. This building you see right here, and the Rest House is actually a building that survived the atomic bombing, and so today I actually work in this building, so I thought Dario invited me to maybe take you all in, have a little look at what's inside, talk about the work that I do here in the park, and also just get to know you all a little bit. So excited to get started. So before we go into the Rest House, just a little bit about my background. So I'm originally from Boston in the United States, which is actually a very Italian town. Awesome Italian food there. But I first came to Japan in 2012 as a college student. And I'm Catholic, a Catholic woman. So I first came here to study about Christian history in Japan. And I went to Nagasaki on a research grant. And that's the first time I really learned about the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I had never, as an American, learned about it in school. And I was very, very shocked at what I learned. I was very embarrassed. I was very struggling with feelings of guilt and defensiveness. And that experience really changed my life, hearing from bomb survivors, going to the museum. And so ever since that summer, I've been coming back to Hiroshima and Nagasaki every summer. And I graduated from college and I became a nuclear weapons abolition activist and youth organizer. And then 4 years ago, I moved here to Hiroshima to join my mentor, Stephen Leeper, who's the former chairman of the organization that runs the Peace Museum, in founding a nonprofit called Peace Culture Village, or PCV. And so that's where I work now, at PCV. And PCV is a bilingual local Hiroshima team of Japanese and non-Japanese folks who are basically dedicating our careers to the study and practice of Hiroshima peace education. So we do a lot of programs, both for Japanese folks and for non-Japanese folks who want to learn about Hiroshima, both online or in person. Because of Corona, a lot of those programs have moved online. But and we're here now at the Atomic Bomb Dome, which I'm sure many of you have seen on Dario's channel before. But one of the programs that we are currently doing is called Peace Park Tour at the Rest House. And so the building that I pointed out before, the Rest House, is an atomic bombed building. It survived the bombing. And so we run tours every day out of the Rest House in English and Japanese. And people can sign up in advance or on the day. And our tours really focus on learning about what was here in the Peace Park before the atomic bombing, to really familiarize people with what was lost and also help people make a personal connection to what happened in the city. We also use a lot of technology. So we like to use CG images, AI colorized black and white images that have been colorized. And those have been made by some of our partners here in Japan. And then finally, our tour also has a output session. So after the tour is over, we invite everyone back to the Rest House where we all talk about what we felt, some things that impacted us, and what we're feeling or thinking after we learned about Hiroshima. So that's just a brief introduction to me, my background, what I'm doing. So maybe now we can go into the Rest House and I can show you around the building. It's been under construction for the past 2 years. I believe. And so it just reopened on July 1st. So y'all are getting a pretty getting to see the new building. So let's go. So now we are inside the rest house, and you can see the first floor has a lot of souvenirs, local Hiroshima souvenirs, things that are made of paper cranes, local food. And so one other thing you can see is these signs for the Peace Park tour and for the Peace Park cycling tour. And this is the one that my group PCV runs. But anyway, some people, well, a lot of people, they come into the rest house and they think that this place is just a store for souvenirs. But that's not the case. So do not be fooled. Please look around, and I'm going to show you what else we have here in this building. So let's go this way. So before the rest house was renovated, it was a tourist information center. Oh, ohayou gozaimasu. But now it's much more than that. So before we go any further, I want to show you this. Throughout the rest house, you'll see some places that are blocked off, and that's because here there are actually parts of the rest house that they uncovered when they were renovating that are original to the A-bombed rest house. So you can see here that this black section of the ceiling is original from the A-bombed rest house. And one thing to mention is that after the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, this building was renovated, it was changed many times, and over time, the documents saying, oh, this part is new, this part is new, those documents got lost. So it's really hard for the people renovating to know which parts of the rest house are original and which parts are not. But this black part of the ceiling is definitely original. This building was actually originally a kimono store, and the I guess headquarters of the kimono company was in Osaka. So here you could not only buy Hiroshima fabrics, but you could also buy really bright, colorful fabrics from Osaka. This was a very fancy, special building in Hiroshima before the bombing. So this is the second floor of the rest house, and here we have a cafe. And at the cafe, they have really delicious coffee and ice cream, which is my favorite. YouTube videos. So this is a piano that survived the atomic bombing, and it's on display here. And sometimes it will be played for special events and things like that. So if you ever come to the rest house, please check out this atomic bomb piano. One other thing to mention is that the original rest house, you can see these pillars. So the original rest house also had these pillars. It was the same appearance. So this part was made of stone, and this pillar goes all the way up from the first floor and the basement all the way to the third floor. And if we go a little bit over here, we can see another part of the rest house that was preserved from its original state. So this is kind of interesting. You can look up in the ceiling. This part of the ceiling, they believe is original. And the reason they believe that is because you can see there's cracks in the ceiling. And those cracks are going diagonally, not vertically. And so we talked to the person who was in charge of renovating the rest house, and he said, because the cracks, because of the effect of the bomb blast, they go diagonally, so that's how you can tell. And then also, we have, so these stairs, I have heard from the same gentleman that they don't really have any proof what era they're from, but they expect that they survived the atomic bombing because the way that the stairs, like the square thing up there, like that style of stairs is kind of reminiscent of that period. And then, we have another kind of area for people. One thing to note about the cafe is you don't have to buy anything to come here. This is just a rest space for anyone, so you can come and bring your own food or buy food here and just take a break in the air conditioning. So this wall is called the River of Hope, and this wall is what we, Peace Culture Village, use for our Peace Park tour at the Rest House in our output session. So after our tour finishes, all the people who participate come here, and in Hiroshima there's a river called the Motoyasu River. And every year on that river, there's a lantern floating ceremony to honor the victims of the atomic bomb. And so we ask our tour participants to write their feelings after the tour, or their reflection, or the things that they love and cherish in their lives on blue Post-its to represent the river, the Motoyasu River. And we ask hibakusha, atomic bomb survivors, to write their wishes for peace on colored Post-its that we laminate, and these colored Post-its represent the lanterns. So eventually we hope this wall will be completely filled with blue Post-its that are carrying the wishes and the hopes of hibakusha, of bomb victims, into the next generation. So now we're on the 3rd floor of the rest house, which has an exhibit or a museum about what Hiroshima Peace Park was like before the atomic bombing. So before the atomic bombing, it was actually one of the busiest commercial districts in Hiroshima. And so it was called Nakajima District, and this is what it looked like. Right over here, there's a diorama of what Nakajima looked like. You can see the rest house right over here. And this is the hypo center. The atomic bomb exploded 600 meters in the air right above this hospital called Shima Hospital. You can also see the Motoyasu River, Motoyasu Bridge, and this building, which was called the Industrial Promotion Hall, became what we now know as the Atomic Bomb Dome. Some other things to show you up here. So here is exhibited some CG footage created by our friends at Fukuyama Technical High School. And the students and teachers there have been creating a VR world of Nakajima before the bombing so that survivors can go back in time and re-experience what their hometown was like. So that is all exhibited here, the VR world created by Fukuyama Technical High School. And then over here, and you can also see a bomb survivor wearing the headset and going into this world. So what they're creating is very, very accurate because the hibakusha and the bomb survivors have been able to say, oh, this looks a little bit more like that. And then here are exhibited some photos created by a man named Hidenori Watanabe and a student at Tokyo University named Niwata Anju. They are colorizing black and white photos from before the bombing using AI technology. So you can see that, colorizing these photos makes them come to life. It makes it seem like, oh, what happened here in Hiroshima wasn't so long ago. It's really not so removed from our lives. And finally, why don't we go down to the basement? So here we are in the basement of the rest house. And before we go in, I want to tell you a little bit about the story of the rest house during World War II. So as I said before, this building was originally a kimono store, but during World War II, it was commissioned by the Japan Fuel Rationing Union, or the Hiroshima Fuel Rationing Union, to serve as the fuel hall. So people would come here and be doled out their fuel. And there were 37 people working here on the day of August 6, 1945, the day of the bombing. And only one of them survived. His name was Eizo Nomura, and he was here in the basement of the rest house looking for a document when the bomb exploded. So he was shielded from the heat, from the blast, and from the radiation, and that's why he survived. He lived to be 82 years old. So now let's go into the basement. It has been preserved as it was at the time of the bombing. You can see all of this exposed, parts of the building that had been burned. So within 1 second of the bomb exploding, it became unimaginably hot in Hiroshima. The ground temperature at the hypocenter reached 3,000 to 4,000 degrees Celsius. And iron melts at 1,500 degrees Celsius, so extremely hot. And this rest house, this building, actually survived the atomic bombing because of its strong, reinforced concrete walls. Most of the buildings here in Hiroshima at the time weren't made of concrete, they were made of wood. So they were all destroyed, but this building remained mostly intact. So here you can see the basement has been preserved, and you can also see here a picture of Eizo Nomura, the one survivor who survived in this building. And you can see this exhibit is also all new, but you can kind of see his story here. So these are actually drawings that he drew himself about what he experienced in Hiroshima. And these are pictures of what the rest house looked like right after the bombing. You can actually see, well, all of the wooden buildings that you saw in the diorama are completely destroyed. And you can also see that this part of the rest house fell off. And when you look at the rest house from outside, these windows, replicas are now there. So maybe the final thing we can do is go see the outside of the rest house, and I can show you some parts of the outside that are original to the 8-bombed building. So as we saw, this is the same kind of view we just saw in the basement, and you can see that these windows were here, and that this part of the building actually fell off. So now let's look at the modern day rest house. You see those same types of windows have been installed, and that area of the rest house is a different color than the rest of the rest house. The reason is to signify that that part of the rest house, the part above that, came off and was destroyed in the bombing. The last thing I want to show you is right here. So you can kind of see that this part of the wall is a different color than the rest of the wall. And the reason is because this part of the wall was actually survived the atomic bombing. So this part has been preserved so that people can see, again, how it was affected by the extreme heat and the blast. Thank you all so much for joining us for this tour of the newly redone rest house. If you want to learn more about Peace Culture Village, the nonprofit where I work, you can find more about us on our website, which is peaceculturevillage.org. And you can also please follow us on Facebook at Peace Culture Village or on Instagram at NPOPCV. And hopefully we will see you someday, either here in Hiroshima or online. Thank you.